First of all, thanks for joining me, Matt. It's been a while since we've seen you. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing really well. Obviously, it's a strange time for everyone. The football world's took a bit of a hammering in the press, and a lot of questions unanswered at the moment. Certainly in terms of what's going to happen to the remainder of this season, and obviously going into next season. But you've almost got to put that to one side and concentrate on everyone's health and safety. And that's one thing we've tried to do as a community, and as a football club. And hopefully, we've tried to send out the right messages. The players have been excellent in terms of their attitude towards the club, and I can't speak highly enough of the people we work with on a daily basis as well.
It's been 44 days now since we were last in action at Walsall. What was what was going through your mind when you heard just before the Salford game that football had been suspended?
Yeah, well,
Preparations must have all been made for that match.
Yeah, obviously we prepared all week. Look, it became apparent quite early on that Friday that the game was in doubt simply because we had a player with symptoms, and we had to notify the league. But when we were making those phone calls, the communication back to us was basically saying that a decision is going to be made early on that Friday morning. The players came into train as normal, but just waited around for some sort of notification, really. And then I think it was close to 11 o'clock we got the emails and then the communications from the Football League saying that the games were cancelled and the league was suspended until further notice. So as soon as that happened, we tried to get the players away from each other and away from the training ground as quickly as possible. When you have fixtures cancelled, we still didn't know how serious that obviously this virus was at that time. So we tried to make the right decisions and get the people away from the place of work as soon as we possibly could. And hopefully we did that. And then since then it's become apparent how serious this pandemic is, and how long it looks like it's going to remain within our community. So a lot of decisions have been made since then, and we're trying to make sensible decisions as we go along.
Definitely, and I'm guessing this is a challenge that you've never experienced in football before, one you can't be prepared for either, is it?
Yeah, and for someone who's been in the game not a long time, but obviously through a playing career and a coaching career, now a management career, there's things you can prepare for, but something of this nature you just cannot prepare for it. But like I said, it's really highlighted what good people we've got working within our football club, and what a good set of players we've got in terms of their character as well, and in terms of how important the football club is to the community. So like I say, you need leaders to stand up at moments like this, and the players have certainly done that. And I've been so impressed with the way people have conducted themselves. The club's going to have to make difficult decisions in the future, and has made difficult decisions in the last couple of weeks. But it's all for the benefit of this football club, and we've got to keep the football club going. There's going to be a whole host of managers and chairmen saying the same thing. But our priority is to ensure that the future of Exeter City Football Club, and we'll try and do that best we can.
And as you just alluded to, the players and your staff have been fantastic with regards to understanding the situation, the club's finances, and taking on the furlough scheme, haven't they?
Yeah. Look, it's a government-led scheme, and whilst staff members can't get into work in the workplace, then it's only right that we put them on the furlough scheme, and we've done it the same with the players as well. And on top of that, some of our senior players have deferred a percentage of their wages for the remainder of this season, and myself and my senior staff as well. So we've all took a hit, so to speak, but it's for the right reasons, and hopefully the fans and the public can understand why we've done it. And like I said, with no fans going through the turnstiles, that the cash flow is the immediate problem for any football club or any business. And we understand that. And if the likelihood is that the games get completed for this season behind closed doors, and you're down on an expected revenue in terms of the 5 home games and possible playoff games, and then all of a sudden you look forward to next season, and there's a possibility that some of those games next season will be played behind closed doors as well. So it's a surreal time, and one where you've got to think long and hard about what's the right thing to do from a personal perspective and for the club. But hopefully we've not put too much pressure on the staff and the players to make the right decisions, and given them the best opportunity to make their own decisions. It's incredible because every player you speak to, their circumstances are different. And, the range is incredible. We've got players with babies on their way. Aaron Martin had a healthy baby boy a couple of days ago. A couple of other players have got babies on their way, 20 weeks down the line. some players coming towards the end of their careers, some players starting their careers, some players waiting to buy a house, some players with stocks and shares and investments. It's absolutely incredible. And like we said, we didn't want to do a across the board percentage because that would have just put some players under real pressure. And so we said to the players, look, anything you can afford would be a huge benefit to the football club, but certainly don't put yourselves and your family under any added pressure. And the players have responded brilliantly well, and it shows their trust in myself, but also in the football club as well.
Going back to what you just said about possibly playing behind closed doors, I mean, what kind of challenges does that give you anyway?
It would be strange, first and foremost, to play any game behind closed doors. There's obviously no one there. There'll be a small handful of people from the press and club representatives, I suppose. But then, will ball boys be allowed? Will fourth officials? It's there's so many questions you remain unanswered, and everyone who's been to watch us at the park, for a long time can understand that when a ball goes out of the stadium, then someone needs to go and get it. So I'm not sure who we can employ to do that. But
me and Simon can do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the press people should take a hit in terms of that and go and get the balls back, especially from the railway lines. But you just don't know. But like I say, those decisions will be made with the public's health and safety in mind, and hopefully they're the right decisions. They'll put a lot of clubs in difficult situations because, for starters, you don't want to play behind closed doors. You want your fans to be there supporting you and seeing what could be a really positive end to a positive campaign so far. But what if the powers that be in the EFL and the PFA and the FA decide we need to finish this season behind closed doors, then we'll do that and give it our best shot. It will be strange. You'll hear the ones with the louder voices on those football pitches, and people will have to be careful with their language. But also, it's important that clubs understand that fans will want to see these games. So ideally, they will live stream these games any way they possibly can.
I was speaking to Lee Holmes the other day and said, what happens when you score? How do you celebrate a goal if no one's there?
Well, I don't know where you'd run. Maybe to a corner flag, or maybe to a corner, and you could put maybe some statues in one corner and then go and high five them, or possibly towards you guys where the media are. There's always the best celebrations are the natural ones. So it's so difficult to preempt when you're going to score and what to do when you score, because football's a game on instinct and adrenaline. But hopefully the camera's in the right place to capture it when it happens.
Obviously, we were about to celebrate 20 years of Supporters Trust ownership at the Salford game. Does being supporter-owned make these kind of challenges different for the club and how we approach them?
To a certain extent. I think the board's been fantastic in the way they've handled it so far. And the fact that it's 20 years of stability and progression shows what a good structure we've got at our football club. In terms of the way that the club is financially, obviously it means we're not dependent on one chairman, so to speak, and one person putting money in on a consistent basis. And that person could be at risk from losing their finances due to this pandemic. It's incredible. It'll affect all businesses and all people in different ways. But the fact that we create and generate our own money suggests that we are in a stable position at the moment. But we are still reliant on the cash flow from people coming to watch us play football. So, and that remains throughout the board, no matter how rich your chairman is, or if you've not got a chairman, or if you're trust owned. We are reliant on the supporters, and I think that's one thing which has been really highlighted in this time. No live sport is one thing, but no live sport and no supporters is another thing. And they've got the control, they've got the power. And it has certainly highlighted to a lot of clubs and a lot of people in senior positions at football clubs that fans are everything. And we need the fans more than maybe they need us at times.
Absolutely. Going back to the players as well, how have you been keeping in contact with them, and what sort of routines are they following at the moment?
So to start with, because we didn't know how serious this issue was, we wanted them to maintain their fitness, so we kept a general fitness program. But when it was apparent how serious this virus was and how long it would last, and with the government lockdown, we basically gave them a tailored program, which is concentrating on strength work. Because we've been out away from the training ground and away from training for a longer period of time now, we're going to have a mini pre-season when we return. So it's important the players almost use this as a mental and physical break on their body, but still maintain a bit of strength work and build different areas of the body ready for when they come back to some physical training. Hopefully we'll get a bit of a heads up when that will be. So we might give them an extra 2-week or 10-day physical program at home where they basically do a pre-season in isolation. So you might see him running along the roads or the canals or on the beaches and running hard as well, because they're going to have to push themselves to the absolute limit, because with a short pre-season, unfortunately, there's going to be no catch-up time. And I do feel that when we get back, it will be survival of the fittest. There won't be too much tactical aspects of the games. It will be who's got the strongest squads and the fittest players with the right mentality. So that's one thing we're trying to emphasise to the players, maintaining some sort of fitness at the moment, but then when we're asking them to do work, they've got to come back in some sort of physical shape, which allows them to go straight into training and allows them to go straight into games. And we do expect that if the season is completed, it'll be 3 games a week for a 6-week period, almost a tournament-like format. So you'll need all your squad, and you'll need all your squad fully fit and ready to play 90 minutes. So the players generally have been excellent in terms of communication. I've made sure myself and my main staff members have phoned them each on a weekly basis. So we've got a little report, which the players actually don't know about, but a little report on what the feedback is from each and every player, just to keep tabs on everyone, not in a bad way at all, but just, we care about these players, and we want them to be fit, healthy. We want their families to be fit and healthy and safe, but also in the right mindset as well, because as difficult it is for fit, healthy young people, there's a lot of people who even can't leave the house at all. So we're lucky that our one time we can leave the house for a bit of exercise is for a reason. And the players have to understand that. But the players have got huge responsibilities as well. Like I said, the ones with family members and people close to them, they've got to look after those close to them first and foremost. And football sometimes takes a back seat to a certain extent in times like this. But we've got to look forward to what's to come, and hopefully that's a positive end to this season and a positive following season, wherever that will be.
And right now, at this time, it's obviously important that players look after their mental health as well as their physical health, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why phone calls are so important. I think it's been highlighted. Jake Taylor's phoned a few of the young Reds in terms of their birthdays. I've been trying to phone around the senior Reds. We'd like to phone around every single supporter because keeping those lines of communication is so important. And I'd say if anyone is struggling, get in touch with the club. The community trust at the football club is a fantastic run charity, and it does fantastic things for the community, but has got all aspects and all areas covered in terms of help needed. And mental well-being is certainly going to get highlighted in times like this, because there's a lot of things to worry about. There's a lot of things to take into account, and there's a lot of pressures which we obviously discussed already and we'll discuss again. But people have got to remain level-headed and believe that we're going to get through it and get through it together. I'm a big believer in believing in people. And whether you voted for him or not, the government seems to have a handle on it. And if you want any inspiration from people, then just take a look at the NHS and the key workers involved in that. I'm probably in a privileged position because my partner works at the RD&E, and I've made an effort to drop her at work in the morning and pick her up in the evenings. So I get to not witness it, but I get to see those people going into the front line, so to speak, and what they're doing is absolutely incredible. So it's the people who get us through this, and then those people within the NHS and all the key workers. A lot of people don't get a mention, but a lot of key workers as well who are going to keep the country running to a certain aspect. And then the leaders have got to make the right decisions. We've got to follow their advice, and the sooner we get out of this, the better.
Absolutely. Going back to what you said about calling the senior Reds, your phone call to Mike Roach certainly made his day, and you ended up calling up BBC Radio Devon just to chat about how much you've made his day.
Yeah, definitely, and it's the least I can do. A lot of people within the club are trying to volunteer and so on and so forth, and make the right phone calls or the odd phone call. And a couple of minutes out of your day is nothing compared to some of these people, and some of these people, like I've just mentioned, can't even leave the house, and some might be on their own as well. So the phone lines are always open, and I would I'd advise anyone who needed to talk just to phone the club, and they'll put you through to the right people. And sometimes it really does make a difference. It can not only brighten people's day, but give them a positive look or outlook on what's to come. And like I just spoke about, you need something to believe in. and we've got to, at the moment, keep believing that sport's going to come back to this country and to this community, and Exeter City is a big part of that. And if we can finish this season in a successful manner, that'll make a lot of people happy. They might not be there to witness it, but I'm sure at homes or in their homes watching online, it'd be fantastic for them to see that and then to celebrate with their family and loved ones.
Moving on to the players, I'm guessing the likes of Jack Sparks and Johnny Maxted will be back in contention for when we do return.
Yeah, we expect so. Jack's got to be careful with the way the fracture was at the top of his tibia. Road running especially will aggravate that. So Jack's going to have to still take it easy to a certain extent and get on the softer surfaces, maybe grass surfaces. But with the longer period of time we've not trained or played games, and obviously Johnny Maxted is going to be fully fit, and Jack Sparks hopefully will be able to train when we return. So it's great to have those two available. But a lot of squads with players who've had injuries will be in the same place, where players who you almost expected to be out for the remainder of the season are now fit and available to play. Like we touched upon, managers and coaches are going to need every single member of those squads, and it is going to be the ones who can consistently play a certain intensity for a certain level of time, which will probably get the shirts and play the games and remain in the team.
And will the situation have an impact on player contracts and things like that? Because obviously players at the end of the season would be sort of June time, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so obviously there's 7 senior players at the moment who are out of contract on the 30th of June. There's an extra month's pay which they're entitled to, which will cover them to the end of July. So hopefully the season will get finished between June and July, and we don't have to extend anyone's contracts. If we did have to extend contracts, it would either be on a weekly or monthly basis, short-term extension, but that would be across the board, and that would be dictated to by the EFL basically, because it's got to go across the board and every club's got to adhere to it. But I certainly do feel it will make the market for the next transfer window extremely different to what it has been. Prices, even at our level, not just the Premier League, have become inflated in terms of what players are able to obtain wage-wise, and the bigger payers within our league, even at League 2 levels. So the market will certainly look a lot different. You watch a bit of TV every now and then, and for some reason Gary Neville's turned out to be an expert on League 2. Because he obviously part owns Salford, but for those players who are out of contract, I think it is a worrying time. Obviously, I've just mentioned we've got 7 of those players ourselves, and the market will look a lot different. Budgets will be frozen, budgets will be reduced. Some players will be asked to leave football clubs, some players will be asked to go out on loan, because clubs will have to cut costs, and that's the brutal reality of it. But those clubs will be doing that, and those decisions will be made with the future of the football club at the top of the agenda. So it's a really difficult position as a manager and as a football club. But I do expect the next transfer window to look a lot different than the previous ones.
How much can you and your staff really prepare for next season at the moment with everything up in the air?
Well, we've got different scenarios. We've tried to prepare as if we were back to normal and working towards our original budget. We're trying to prepare as if the budget's frozen as we speak in terms of contracted players being as they are for next season, and no players in or out. So there's various aspects to look at it, but we are certainly under no illusions that the club needs to generate some money and some sort of cash flow. So our younger players or our players of value become even more valuable, and how we get them into a position where they become assets which benefit the club and maybe sold on is something we've got to take into account as managers and coaches, because we've got to keep this football club running and we've got to get that cash flow coming in. So a lot of preparations, a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, a lot of ideas, but and also a lot of unknown, and that's the most difficult thing in and around football at the moment is the unknown. But what is for sure is that at the moment we've got a group of contracted players for next season who'd certainly compete at the current level, and I'm sure we'd have a good go at competing at the level above as well. So that's what we're working towards. If we get a bit of budget freed up, then that's down to my discretion and the coaches' minds in terms of who we retain in terms of those players out of contract, but also who we sign and try and bring into the club. It's going to be so difficult because like I've just mentioned there's going to be a lot of players out of contract, and the market will look a lot different than it has done. It'll still be, we speak about survival of the fittest, it's probably going to be survival of the wealthiest in terms of football. And that's something where, we're in a stable position, but we're certainly not a wealthy club. So, cup runs and player sales are going to be our key initiatives moving forward.
And we're in a good position that we have such a strong academy that can create, these players which are ready for the first team. I guess, in some respects, the likes of Joel Randall, Jordan Dyer and people like that might get more of an opportunity next season.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why you look back and you think it's the right decision. But we used the leasing trophy this season as a real bedding in format for those young players. It gave them experience of what we feel is as close to league experience as they possibly can. They can play in the pre-season games, they can play in some cup competitions, but to get competitive fixtures against what we've had, League 2 and League 1 opponents in the leasing trophies has given them such good experience, and they've performed really well, and they've shown that they're close to being able to step onto that first team pitch on a regular basis. They'll still be strengthened by the existing group and the senior ones within that existing group. But we feel we're in a good position because, like you've alluded to, our academy is fantastic and keeps on producing these young players. And we're going to rely on these young players in the future more than ever. But it's good that our philosophy throughout the club has been to do that anyway. So not too much will change in that respect. But young players can only perform with the senior ones and the good characters around them. And we've got to understand that and know that. And know when it's right to play them and take them out of the team. But if you want any examples, then the young ones who've made the mark in the first team the last couple of seasons, obviously Archie Collins and Jack Sparks and Ben Seymour, and more recently Joe Randall, have really made their mark, and they are the future of this football club. And like I say, they've got a big role to play.
Absolutely. Speaking of the first team as well, they've been so supportive of us during this time with media requests and everything. Jake Taylor calling the young fans, Lee Holmes coming up with his idea for the Volcano Challenge.
I saw the video of that. It was fantastic, wasn't it? I think Wayne Carlisle needs to have a serious conversation with him because for some reason Wayne's son did the volcano, but I think they used vinegar as the explosion.
Oh.
And now he says his house stinks of vinegar. So it'll be interesting when he gets older Holmes in next time he sees him. But little things like that go a long way. And it just shows that the characters we got within this football club. I can't speak highly enough of them. And I've been lucky to speak to them and maintain a fair amount of contact with this group, and hopefully yourselves have as well. And like we've touched upon it already, but anything this group of players or myself and the staff can do during difficult times to help people in the community, we'll certainly do that.
I think it just goes to show they really get the sort of community club that we are and that sort of side of it, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And that's also testament to the community trust, testament to the board, testament to the supporters, and testament to the area we live in. We're all in this together, and it sounds like a cliche, but we certainly are. And we are in the public eye, I suppose, and public profile to a certain extent. And people look to us for guidance and a bit of assistance along the way. And anything we can do in a positive manner, we'll certainly do that. And I'm sure the players and myself and the staff and the club will continue to do that. Even without difficult times, we'll still spread the right words as much as we can. And that's why the community trust is such a valuable asset to the club.
Speaking of the fans, we made the decision a couple of weeks ago to carry on and put season tickets on sale, with the caveat that if you can afford to buy one and support the club, then we take that. But there's no pressure at the moment. Around 250 fans have already signed up, which just again shows how much we appreciate their support and how great it is.
Definitely, it's fantastic. Because our fans will be hit financially. I can moan all day long about how this is going to have financial implications for football, but the general public have been hit. Everyone's been hit. Industries, businesses, and people will have to spend their money wisely. But the fact that people want to still invest in our football club just shows how much they care. And for season tickets to be on sale and to be sold already for next season, even in a time of absolute uncertainty, just goes to show how important the club is to these people. And hopefully it can be a bright light at the end of a dark tunnel.
Absolutely. Club was saddened by the news of the passing of Maurice Mason last week. A much-loved man and someone who'd worked at the club for nearly 2 decades. I guess he was probably one of the first people that you'd see on a match day, wasn't he?
Yeah, you drive into the car park and you always check who's coming in, because if you're not on that list, there's no chance you're going to park in that car park. But yeah, he had a great personality and a great relationship with the staff and players. He ran that car park really well, and it's so sad. And our condolences go out to the families and then the friends of Morris. But he will be missed. He really will be missed. And like you say, he was probably your first port of call on a match day. You'd wind your window down or you get out of your car and he'd have a joke or say hello. And more often than not, you'd probably catch it on film because you'd be stood 10 yards away filming it as well. So it's such a shame. And there will probably be more and more instances like this with the nature of the virus and the way people are physically. But we've got to remember the good times as well, and hopefully he enjoyed coming to work. He used to come out to the training ground and not watch us train, but sit in the coach's room and probably have a good chat with Marcus Flickcraft when we were out coaching. And he was part and parcel of the club, and that goes for so many people, so many volunteers, and so many people who work within the club and support our club. Exeter City is part of something, and they are part of Exeter City, and Morris was certainly part of that. So any support his family need, the club will be there. And it is such a shame to lose such a good character. And like you mentioned, your first port of call on a match day.
In a strange way, I guess the current winner of this situation is the St James Park pitch. Seen a few pictures and it's looking a lot better than it did.
Yeah.
I guess the guys, Clive and Chaz, have been working hard on that, I take it.
Yeah, they've not been in every day, but they've been on an almost part-time basis. Some of the ground staff obviously were on the furlough scheme as well. So Chaz and Clive have remained and carried out working. And the park pitch is improving slowly but surely. Somehow some grass seeds got on those mud patches, and some green shoots are starting to show. But it's a time for recovery for a lot of different things, and pitches is one of them. The training ground pitches are going to improve. The facilities have had a little rest, and it's one thing which we felt was certainly affecting us to a certain extent in terms of those games where the pitch was so difficult to play on. And you get a feel for it when you speak to the players. And players should look forward to playing their games at home because it's a fantastic stadium and a fantastic atmosphere. And the only thing lacking towards the end was the pitch. But we were also unlucky throughout the season. I think from probably November onwards, it felt like it rained at 3 o'clock every time.
Yep.
Every Saturday we were at home, and 7:45 when we were at home on a Tuesday night as well. So, we got drenched through, but also the pitch took a real hammering this season, and it suffered off the back of that. So when we do come back, the pitch will be one thing better for it.
And it's typical at the moment, you can only go out once a day and it's glorious sunshine.
Yeah, it's incredible. Finally, we get some good weather, but at least this is good growing weather. I expect a lot of people's gardens will look a lot better when they go back to work than they did when they left work. And people got time in their hands, and like I say, people got to use that time wisely and be responsible when they do go outdoors. But being in your garden and doing bits and pieces certainly keeps your mind active.
Excellent. A few funner questions for you now, just a couple. I don't know if you've seen, but we've been showing classic matches live on social media and getting the fans to vote for ones that we've been able to get hold of. Which game from your playing days would you be happy for us to show?
Happy for you to show?
Yeah, if we could find it. Which one would you like if you had to choose one?
My favourite game at the park was Leeds at home. We won 2-0 and they were top team in League One. I just remember for the first probably half an hour of the game, people almost being stood on the pitch in the corners where I think it was just being let in. And I don't know if Taggy was letting extra bodies in or trying to cram him in, but it was a full house, which we didn't often get, but a full house and a great atmosphere. Not a particularly nice day, but up against a team of real quality. And it was when League One was a good league as well, and there were some top teams in that league, and we were little old Exeter City, and we more than held our own that season and sort of survived relegation on the last day, and then obviously finished well the following season. But Leeds at home was my favourite game at the park, but then there's some memorable games along the way. I've watched the Torquay game at Torquay, and that was fantastically part of. I watched the Oxford game on Saturday. And I didn't watch it live at the time, but I knew I was already joining the club when that game was being played. And it was great to see possible future teammates. but like I say, there's been some special times at our football club, and the fans have got to, that's why the fans are voting. Really, they've been part of that, and you saw the atmosphere at Torquay and the atmosphere at Oxford, and there's been a whole host of games really. Wembley, not a bad game to be involved in, and a successful Wembley trip, and something we want to emulate if we go back there again. But like I say, there's something special about beating a big team at the park, and that's why, probably for me, that's why the Leeds game was a big one.
It's a bit of a Ryan Harley masterclass that day as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ryan Harley scored too. I think maybe one of the only headers he's ever scored in terms of his first goal. But it was a game where, it sounds bad, but everyone was so up for it because you're playing Leeds United. We'd watched them on Match of the Day in the years previous. I think around the same time they might have played Man United, not too far away in the FA Cup, and beating them 1-0 at Old Trafford. I think that might have been when they were in League One or around that time. So they were a good team, and they won that league pretty comfortably that season, and had some serious players. So we got beaten there first game of the season in the last minute. I think Beckford scored a header in the last minute there. But we managed to somehow get an important 3 points for the club when we played them at home.
Absolutely. Like most of the country, have you been spending any of your downtime on Netflix?
Well, because we did the Twitter Q&A, didn't we? And probably a little bit unwisely at the time, because I hadn't watched it, but I'd been recommended it. Tiger King, and it seems to have turned into
it's like a cult following now, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. But I didn't know anything about it at the time, so I think we watched the English game to start with, and then we went on to Tiger King, and most recently we watched the BBC drama The Nest.
Oh, yeah.
And all have been interesting, but there's something strange about America. You've only got to look at the protests and the people congregating together, protesting against not being locked away, but being in lockdown to a certain extent. And it's just, you can't not watch it. And it is pure and utter entertainment. So Tiger King was certainly one. Been recommended a few others. I'm trying to watch a few sport ones. We watched the Aaron Fernandez one, the American footballer who's the murder. And that was certainly a strange one to watch. But it sounds crazy, but I've not had as much free time as what people expect. My phone is constantly going. And people seem to want to talk for longer than they usually do, and understandably so. So a lot of it is on the phone, a lot of it is emails, a lot of it is planning. And also, like we touched upon earlier on, we're still recruiting in terms of players for next season, or the next transfer window, or the season after that. So a lot of watching of games. And I've also spent this time to maybe reflect on my own work as a manager and the way I do things. And the way the team has performed this season and last season in my time as manager. One of the first places you're learning most is looking at yourself and your own team. And that's certainly something I've done, and hopefully it'll help us implement not new ideas, but better techniques moving forward.
I guess I can't not ask you, but do you think Carol Baskin is guilty?
Well, I think questions have got to be asked. But that's why it was surreal, and we've all watched it on TV, but I think there's probably about a dozen investigations still going on, and if they find the ex-husband, then I'm not sure, but so many questions unanswered in that programme. And I watched, I think it was episode 7, I don't know who it was, some American TV star did not a rerun, but a reflection on the series, and he interviewed some people, and obviously some people didn't want to get interviewed, but they are not YouTube sensations, but they are stars now in their own right, and there's talk of it being made into a movie. So I think a lot of people end up in jail, to be honest with you. I'm not sure who, I'm not sure how, but I think a lot of people end up in jail.
Finally, you've mentioned a few, but what series would you recommend that people took the time to watch at the moment?
Well, the one I've been recommended sport-wise, which is meant to be excellent, is about the Australian cricket team called The Test.
Yeah.
I've just not had enough time on my own to watch it because my partner, I don't think she'd be too happy about me watching that of an evening. So I'd recommend The Nest, BBC drama set in Scotland. That was certainly interesting. We get recommended some all the time. I'm a little bit more old school. When it gets to a certain time in the evening, I just want to relax and put a film on and maybe not have to concentrate on a series. but I'd probably recommend Tiger King. But I'll have to back it up then. There's plenty out there people can watch.
Excellent. I think we'll leave it at that with that recommendation. I think most people probably have watched it already based on the things you see online.
Yeah.
But thanks for your time, Matt.
No problem. Anytime at all. And like I say, I can't emphasise enough how apparent it has been that a lot of good people, similar to yourself, work for this football club and have got the right intentions at heart. And if anyone's out there in any type of distress or in trouble of any ways, then get in contact with the club. And there's a lot of people who can help out in terms of that.
Absolutely. I mean, people can just message us on social media if they need any support as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, go down the right avenues, but the club will certainly stand by.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time, Matt.
No problem. Anytime.